Hello, everybody. Welcome in, whether you have been attending the previous 52 weeks, whether you came in along the way, or possibly this is your very first time joining the Doctor's Orders from the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel. We did a stream on my channel on Friday, so I hope we have some new people kind of checking it out with some curiosity and popping over to see what this is all about. My name is Dancy Bearded. I'm the co-host of this show, and this show is, again, on the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel. If you guys are watching now or in the future, two things, if you could, hit the thumbs up, show YouTube you like this, and then also consider subscribing slowly, naturally, and in an amazing way, if I can say so myself. This channel is creeping towards that 1,000 subscribers, and some really cool things and features can happen once this channel gets there. And so all subscriptions, all likes, all shares are genuinely appreciated here. And if you are new here, this show is just simply to pull back the curtains and show the transparency of this company, the owners, the products, their hobbies, their interests, the facility, anything you can imagine. And that's what today's all about, which I'll kind of talk to in a second here. But we are joined by the other co-host, the co-owner, the doctor of time and space himself. He did some bending on Friday. We got to see it in real time. We have Master Phelps, aka Dr. Nick. Nick, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Pumped for this week. It's crazy. You know, we usually go a week in between streams here and seeing everybody. So I'm usually like all like missing my crew and our people here. But hey, we just got to see everybody Friday. That was awesome. Really cool that everyone came by. Thanks for making it. But starting the week off strong, man. Right out of a good holiday weekend.
Yeah, and if anybody's into like giving gifts or you know that. This week is also special. We have Nick's birthday. Nick, share what you would like about your birthday. What's going on there, you old man?
Well, I turned 24 on Friday.
Time and space. Yeah.
Turned 24 for the 16th time. So turning 40 on Friday. It'll be good. We're taking off Thursday, and we're going to be going down to Blue Ridge Rock Fest down in Virginia at the Virginia International Speedway.
Wow.
And so I get to turn 40 at a music festival with my wife and my son. He's 10.
Oh, he's going?
11. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah. So he's done lots of concerts, lots of metal shows, but he's never been to a festival. And I was in my 20s before I ever got to go to one because my parents just weren't into that kind of thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so he turns 11 on the 12th of this month. So his birthday's, next week. So I figured it'll kind of be like a pre-birthday weekend for him. Birthday weekend for me.
Tuesday?
Next Tuesday.
Okay, cool. Oh, he'll be in school. I was going to say, man, we should have him on, but that's cool. We'll have to say happy birthday to him.
We will. He'll be watching when he gets home, but he'll be at school. We'll be taking him out of school Thursday, Friday, and Monday after a long weekend. So I'm like, part of me wants to let him stay home on his birthday too, but I'm like, oh man, he'll be missing multiple days. And like, he's better off being at school on his birthday anyway. Because it's a week the day after we get back, we're going to be busy with orders. And, that way he gets to go do his thing and, see all his friends at school.
For sure. That's cool. So awesome. Yeah. I never at all went to anything like that at his age. And he's such a mature, cool dude. He's just got to like take it all in and just have so much fun and just I can just see him just like processing the people watching and stuff.
Oh God, there's going to be a lot of people watching. I mean, the event is hosted by Steve-O from Jackass.
Oh my gosh.
So literally Steve-O is the MC for the whole event, like announcing bands and bouncing between stages.
And Steve-O has hit, I don't know if you guys follow comedy at all. Steve-O has hit this new like level of himself through comedy, but his comedy is not a traditional comedy show. It's kind of like Jackass mixed with comedy, mixed with shock and awe, which is Jackass. It's a whole I've not been, but I've seen stuff and I've heard a lot about it on podcasts. I guess it's a full like immersive experience, and I would imagine he's gonna have a hard time turning some of that off for the festival, and I bet a lot of it kind of carries over.
Oh dude, he's gonna have an absolute blast because like we took him to see his first concert. He was like 6. I mean, he was, he's rocking out with, I think it was Psycho Stick was his first big kind of band show that he saw. And like the guy, actually their bass player kind of looks like you a little bit. Like if I don't have you side by side, but I think of Maddie the Moose in my head, he reminds me of you a little bit.
Sounds right.
Yep. And he wears big fake moose antlers on stage. So Jack, of course, just thought it was the coolest thing in the whole world.
It's the ears that made you think of that. Got it.
That's what it was. It was
Yeah.
the moose antlers just mixed with your ears. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so funny. So funny.
No,
So man, that's
it'll be
cool.
good, man. Yeah.
You guys doing a hotel, Airbnb?
So we're doing an Airbnb. I was looking at all the hotels, and I mean, they're like, there's shuttles and packages you can get for the festival, but they're all, kind of basic little walk in and sleep there kind of things. And I figured if it was a birthday weekend, try to make it cool as possible. So
Nice.
we rented a big ass 5-bedroom lake house.
Wow.
And we have 2 other friends that are going down, and I managed to link up with her quick enough. And I'm like, hey, do you feel like adding a couple of $1,000s to your trip down to Blue Ridge? Because I got an awesome idea. And she was going to do the campground and drive down there and camp. And I threw this idea past her, and she was, she loved it and jumped on board right away. So it's basically, it'll be Jill and I, Jack staying there, and then 2 other friends in the other 2 bedrooms. But it's like right on the lake with a dock. The lake's awesome for swimming. So we get to wake up, swim, hang out in the lake every morning, cook breakfast, and do that.
Even just getting back from the festival, I mean, it's gonna be an amazing time, but you're gonna be dirty, you're gonna be sweaty, you're gonna be nasty. Just jumping in the lake after that, goodness.
Dude. Yeah, there's nothing better than a good night swim, and especially when you're all sweaty and disgusting. And yeah, there's a hot tub, there's a fire pit, there's nice stuff out back, so it should be a great place to have as home base. And the closest hotel was like 20 minutes away, and this Airbnb is like 14 minutes away.
Very cool.
So it's really close.
And you guys are just driving down, you said?
No, we're flying. We're going to fly. Yeah, we're flying down Saturday to Raleigh, and then we'll jump in a rental car and drive like the hour north up to the Speedway area.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be a lot of fun for sure. And yeah, I know a lot. I don't have a lot of experience. I used to do, oh my gosh, what was the festival that they did for all the rock music when we were kind of in college and in high school? Oh my gosh,
like Ozfest and stuff.
No, it's like that.
But it's a multi-day thing?
Yeah, yep. I believe so, yeah. Oh my gosh, it's not a full, somebody will say it in the chat. They would do it at Comerica in Detroit is where they would have, like, Korn was there. Warp Tour. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Warp Tour. So we would do that every year. That was about the extent of my like rock music festival. And it was I didn't even really listen to music. It was mainly just to like people watch.
Yeah, no, dude, that's it. And Beards and Vinyl's right. Camping at one of these sorts of things is a whole other experience. And we were going to do that. But if I did it, I would have done it with a rented RV. And they were unfortunately out of RV spots by the time we found out about this.
Oh,
yeah. But that'd be pretty cool because you have shore power and you have a nice little spot to park an RV. And I could have rented one from Outdoorsy. We could have flown in, rented one in Raleigh from Outdoorsy, driven it up, and boom, just parked.
You can rent them from Airbnb. They actually do. Yeah, they do them on Airbnb. My friend just did one this last weekend.
Yeah, there's some really cool ones. Outdoorsy looks really cool.
Yeah,
lots of people register up there. There's another one that looks like it's like the Toro of our RVs kind of thing. And
okay, all right.
Some of them allow dogs and some of them don't. So it's like, yeah, that actually looked pretty cool. But man, those campgrounds, if you're there in like a tent, can you imagine a 12-hour festival, 4 days in a row, and you come back to a shared shower in a campground?
Nope. And it's dirty and everyone's drunk and it's nope. I walked through the campground at Michigan International Speedway. I've walked through the campground at the like Indy 500. Nope. I would imagine nope. Not me.
Bunch of nope.
No. Yeah. I saw a whole bunch of nope, like everywhere.
Yeah, like a whole 5-gallon bucket of nope. Actually, that 5-gallon bucket actually wasn't nope. That was poop.
Yeah.
and it was just right there.
It was labeled nope. I can go do anything. I'll go roll in the mud at a music festival. I'll go do anything, but I need an escape. I need a shower. I need air conditioning. I'm not afraid to say that. No, I have to have an escape. That's my thing.
Dude, you cannot roll around in the mud between mosh pits, mud, dirt, and rocks with a beard like either one of these. And then go back to a tent and expect to feel okay the next day. That does not work. I'm sorry. I'm a high maintenance guy. I need a shower. I'm gonna need a few things to get ready, and none of them exist in a tent in a parking lot.
Yep, absolutely. Ben says, Dan, took an ice cold shower with my then pregnant wife at a hippie festival called Grassroots. Nope. Yeah, understood. And G Squared said he did Warp Tour back in '07, 8, and 10. Yeah, that I went through high school and college, so around those same years, and even a little bit earlier, I do believe. So yeah, good memories of people watching for sure.
Dude, Warp Tour. I have some great memories of Warp Tour. G Square, you'd like this one, man. So we have a friend. You guys have heard us talk about him, the guys that are in Necrogoblicon.
Oh yeah.
And they were playing Warp Tour up here a few years back. And he's like, I'm like, we're talking about meeting up and we're going up there. They got passes waiting for us at the gate. And it's a big festival. So it's not like they have their own all access laminates they can give us, so it's like you kind of got to go by festival rules. So I'm like, man, it'd be really cool if we could like meet up, and hell, it'd be cool if we could like barbecue out back next to the bus first and like get some food going and drink some beers. And they're like, yeah, that'd be sweet. We don't have anything with us. I don't know how the hell you'd get in. And I'm like, what lot are you guys in? And he's like, I'll go find out. And he's like, well, I see a sign that says bus lot E. And I was like, perfect. I'll see you back there in bus lot E. I'll text you when I'm there. And he's like, I don't even want to know what you're about to do. And I'm like, nope, you sure don't. I'll text you in a couple hours. And so I go up to my printer and I print out just a piece of printer paper that just says bus lot E. And it just says lot E in big letters. Threw it on my dashboard. Took a bunch of old laminates that I had from doing photos for concerts that say all access and whatever on them and photo passes. And I just hung like 6 of them from my rearview mirror, making it look like, I had a bunch of passes. And so I pull up and there's a guy directing traffic. It's at what's it called now? It used to be like Great Woods. Yeah, I forget what it's called now. Xfinity Center. The Xfinity Center. So it's at the Xfinity Center. They're directing traffic to go to the lots, and I'm like going up to each guy, and I'm like, I got to go to the bus lot, and they're like, oh, okay, it's that way. And so they kept pointing me on, and then finally the last guy that pointed me on, he's like, oh, bus lot? Yep, right up there to that barricade there where all the cops are. And I was like, what's your name? And he's like, I'm Jim. And I was like, perfect, thanks, Jim. So I pull up to where all the cops are, all the security, and I was like, hey, I got to get back to bus lot E. They're like, oh, I don't know. You're going to need to check with the gate on the list and all that. I'm like, no. Jim said, listen, I got a bunch of chicken back here and a grill. I'm cooking for a band. I'm going to tell them that you're the one that made all this stuff go bad and I can't cook them lunch if I can't get back there. I'm already late. And I'm like, Jim told me to come back this way. And they're like, oh, Jim sent you back here? I was like, yeah. So all of a sudden this guy whistles and he calls over 2 cops on ATVs and he's like, hey, this guy needs an escort to bus lot E. And he's like, oh, okay. And the 2 guys jump on their 4-wheelers, turn on their lights, and lead us through the whole event venue with my Jeep with a police escort back to lot E. So I show up, and my buddy Alex is like, dude, we've met up with like so many friends on this tour. He's like, we've had people not been able to sneak in a bottle of water. He's like, in a Jeep, a barbecue, and 20 pounds of chicken.
That's right. That's right.
And I'm like, yes, I did. Let's barbecue.
The power of confidence is wild what it can accomplish.
Oh, it's crazy. If especially at those things, like if you act like you know where you're going and you're either going back there or someone told you to go there, no one there wants to deal with telling you no and that you can't. They're like, oh, you have a good reason and it sounds believable. Come with me.
There's a whole YouTube channel. It's a guy by the name of Eric, but it's spelled Eric. And his goal was to get 1 million subscribers in a year, authentically, and he did. His main thing was breaking into the Super Bowl, breaking into the Logan Paul fight, breaking into the World Series, and he did it all through stuff like that. Like he would go with like easy methods and then increasingly harder. Like he'd go to the gate and same thing, be like, hey, Jim told me to go through. And then he'd film it. And then he like would get denied and he'd make fake passes. And then he had one where he would have somebody go in and have an Apple AirTag in their bag. And he would come up to the gate with his phone and say, I left my phone. My friend pulled up my Apple AirTag, my Apple Find My Phone, and it's in the back. Can I just go get it out of the bathroom? Look, it's right here. You can see that it's in there. And he just had literally every video was a new way to get in. And he just owned it. He just was like full on, like dressed up as a barber one time or a repairman and same kind of thing. It was amazing to see.
That's hilarious. I gotta go check that out.
He's great. Air Rack, really good content creator, entertaining, silly, goofy, but Very, very, very good. And
It wasn't fair. I mean, I used to do that for work. That's like when I used to do physical penetration testing. That's what we used to do is like, need to go get my USB key I left in the server room. Can you let me back there real quick? And that kind of thing.
Yeah. Leo says a man with a clipboard and a screwdriver or hammer can get in anywhere. That's
You're
so true.
Dead on, Leo.
When you're at work, somebody comes in, they're like, hey, I'm trying to, yeah, go ahead. Just go through the, just let them in.
And if you throw like one cell phone onto that clipboard and then another one on your shoulder like this, and you're like looking at the other phone and you're like, dude, I don't know. Can I just?
That's then they don't want to inconvenience you.
God. Yeah. You're clearly working,
So good. And I got to show some quick selfish love real quick. A few of you have commented. I just announced it last night for the first time on YouTube, but our podcast is officially live, you guys. So it's the Catching Up with the Commands, and Notable Beard Co. says, just finish listening to Dan and Sam's podcast. Dude, thank you. And then somebody else had just said that they just got done listening to Jay Spears said just got done listening to a new podcast. So thank you guys. We are
awesome.
Literally loving it. So I appreciate all the praise and support and stuff, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Dude,
all right.
That is killer.
Now, first off, is there anybody that's in here for the first time? I know we say this with Commands Corner, but I think this week's a little bit special. Maybe we have some new people checking it out. If you would love, we would love for you to drop a comment so we can see that who's new in here, and absolutely appreciate everybody that keeps coming back. But I do have a feeling there may be some new people. So go ahead and drop a comment. Essentially, what we're going to do today is I want to kind of just have like an open-ended episode because last week was such an amazing stream with 12 giveaway winners. The pace was kind of ferocious to congratulate and celebrate 52 weeks in a row of streaming. You guys had so many questions. Then on Friday, man, we hit 2 hours. Literally, this dude worked some magic of time and space because 2 hours was just gone, evaporated. By the end, we couldn't even answer any of your guys' questions because there was just so much amazing stuff going on. And I'm not saying that to be corny. I really do mean it. So I want to kind of have this one as a leftover kind of like spillover episode for you guys to ask questions. Like we will start with one from Leo in a little bit here. But if you guys have questions, please, if we don't have questions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through and show some of our earlier episodes and kind of talk about topics and be like, hey, yeah, if you didn't know, we talked about coffee. If you didn't know, we talked about his server room and all these things. But essentially today's going to be like, what do you want to know now that a lot of you are new here? Now that you learned a lot on Friday about Nick and Jill, and this is a chance to be able to get those questions out. So like Jeff S is such a great dude, watches everything on the channel. This is his first time. Oh, am I still here? Okay, there we go. And in YouTube, guys, I think we should be all right. But since the storms and everything, YouTube's had some ups and downs for the last like couple weeks. But I think we're doing okay here. All right. So Nick, first one here. Didn't give you any time to prepare, but hopefully you kind of have this one locked and loaded. Leo wants to know, what is your motivation to do cybersecurity work? And just so you guys know, Nick has spent an adult lifetime in cybersecurity. He owns a cybersecurity company and he owns a cybersecurity consulting company. So that is really his like bread and butter. Like that's what he does. And then the beard stuff, obviously a passion, and we could go on and on. But why did you start?
Yeah, so I think Leo was saying, was that your motivation to cybersecurity work? So it's actually a 2-part question because I'm going to answer both. Because the answer to that is, I think what you're asking, Leo, was like the physical penetration testing side of what cybersecurity did. Was that like my motivation to do it? No, it wasn't originally, but it actually was kind of an interesting kind of bridge between 2 worlds of what I was doing and what I ended up doing. Physical penetration testing and on-site physical security was actually the first type of, actual role I held permanently at a company doing cybersecurity work, which was cool because I kind of had a background. I grew up in a sales family, but also as a technologist, right? So it was kind of a natural crossover for me. What originally got me into cybersecurity, though, was really the networking side of things. There was a number of events that happened as a teenager that kind of led me to work for some military contractors and some other large enterprises really, really early on, doing I was working way back in the day doing tone locks and traces, believe it or not, for finding people that were in the middle of doing something bad and someone got a subpoena and they needed to know where that person was. I would track them down and hand them over to authorities. That was kind of like my first big, gig in cybersecurity.
And I do need to pause you because this is the elephant in the room for all of us that do not speak your language. I want to make sure I quote this
Yes.
correctly. You said that it was physical penetration testing.
Yes.
That's okay. Now, for those of you that are messaging me asking where you can sign up, I don't think it's that.
No.
So,
No open signups. No.
yeah. So what is physical penetration testing before you answer the second part of the question?
Yeah, so penetration testing in general is that you are hired by somebody to act as an adversarial attacker.
Now, do they
And
call
you
that
are
blue white cat or what's
white
the
hat.
white hat?
Yeah, and it's white hat, and then they have red team, blue team, purple team kind of operations that are kind of vary what kind of white hat operation you're doing. But essentially, yeah, penetration testing is you're essentially permitted to attack somebody in the same way that an adversarial attacker would to try to find a way in, document your way in for the purposes of fixing those modes of entry. And so
That sounds so much like you.
yeah, and that can happen digitally, over the internet, right? Electronically, like remotely, or there's the physical side of it. So, how good are the controls that let someone into a server room at a bank? Are there passwords sitting around on Post-it notes? That kind of
Interesting. I
stuff.
never thought about that.
Yeah, and you're right, Smelly. This is all considered part of the envelope of ethical hacking.
Okay.
I've been a certified ethical hacker since the first year they released that certification back in 2014, maybe 2012. And it's one of the few certs I actually still maintain. But it's all part of ethical hacking, white hat operations. But yeah, there's the kind of digital side and the physical side. Like we
Were
used to.
were you impressed with my white hat drop right there?
That just shows you've been listening.
I'm
You have.
up here.
You got a mind like a steel trap.
I learned a lot from Nick, everybody.
No, but that stuff's a lot of fun, man. Like I was good at it when I was young. So you got to show up as like the scared IT guy that was scared of losing his job. Like I'd show up at a bank and be like, "Hey, I need to get back in the server room real quick. I was in there doing some updates like last week. I left one of our USB drives in there. I got to go get it." And they're like, "Oh, we're gonna need like a ticket and all this." I'm like, "Listen, it's like my fourth week. I messed up like my second week. Like, there's no way I'm gonna have this job if I don't get that USB drive back." And then they'd let you back in the room, and then you'd take a photo and you'd put a drive in the computer to prove that you were there, and then you'd leave. And they failed their test. All because someone wanted to help me get in a room. Yeah, I kind of felt bad about some of them, but
I would say I don't know if I could do that. That would make
the good news about this is that we in our contracts, and this is the only way I would do them, is in our contracts we specified that no one that permitted us unauthorized access was allowed to be terminated because of our penetration test.
Okay.
We made sure that all those people got training. So
right.
If someone was the reason we got in, we actually did a credited training program where whatever let us in, we would provide that training for free. So the company didn't even have to pay for it. And the person wouldn't get fired. And they would hopefully learn from their mistakes.
And then you can wear the hat of you are doing the greater good. You're going to save people's money. You're going to do all this stuff. So, okay, I can see that. And Sean says he learned about that when he came across the deviant, is it Olem a couple years ago? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so there's like the God, where the hell do I know that name from too? Olam, especially. That's the part that picks out on me. I believe there's someone in the black hat world. I think he's a developer.
Oh, he's a YouTuber.
No?
Yeah, he's a lock picker. Okay, I have seen
that. Yeah, Deviant Olam.
We've talked about him, you and I.
Lock entry stuff. Yeah. I have seen that dude. I watched the Lockpick Lawyer, and
yes,
I found Deviant Olam, I think, through him. That's why that sounds so damn familiar.
I've seen him too in the Lockpick Lawyer. This is super interesting. So here's one thing that I wonder. I don't know if anybody else does this, and it's probably like silly, but it's human. I'm gonna be vulnerable for a second. I do wonder what people with high social status has watched my content. chances are if they have a beard and they're trying to seek information about the beard, they've at least seen a thumbnail. It's at least crossed their mind. And I just recently listened to a podcast with Post Malone, right? The music artist, unbelievably talented. And he's rocking
super cool dude too.
Super cool. And just, you can just feel how genuine he is. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's so true. He's rocking a super full beard. And on this podcast, largest podcast in the world, he talked about how it's not connecting and it's how it's starting to drive him crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get to Post Malone. And I was already wondering, I'm like, man, he's talking about his beard connecting, taking care of his beard, how he loves his beard. They had a full discussion. And I was wondering, man, I wonder if he's watched the YouTube channel. Then later on in the podcast, he started talking about how every night he goes to bed watching the lockpick lawyer and how it's just like calming to him and so relaxing and all this stuff. I'm like, so he watches.
So he's
YouTube.
seen your content.
He watches YouTube. Like he's a YouTube every night guy. I'm like, there's gotta be some way. And how freaking cool is that? But yeah, those lockpick guys are amazing.
Dude, you know what you got to do? We got to do either we got to do it or you got to do it. You got to do a video. We should do it because I'll send them the damn product. We should do like just call the video like Post Malone beard fix or something like that. So it has his name and beard in there.
Oh,
and
that'd
just
be great.
Like, all right. We know you don't know. We know you that you don't know us, but pretend that you did, and pretend you sent us a question asking what you asked on that podcast. We're just going to run you through right now how to fix that problem, and we've already sent your P office the products that you need to take care of it.
Okay, all right.
Let's just send posting some product, and we'll do a video for him of how to use it.
All right, and especially if he's talking about connecting and filling spots, I know a product that we okay. I'm gonna write this down before this escapes. G Squared has a question for you.
Okay. How hard did you push? Like, was there a threshold you would give up and say, well done? Yeah. So I would. And that's when I would usually, I would move on. I would go like the amount that I would stop at would be if it was like a part, like a hotel or a hospital or a bank, somewhere like that we were trying to get physical access into. The last ditch attempt that I had is I had a buddy back at the office that would answer the phone as the help desk for the place I was working for. So I would open my phone, I would place a call, I'd let it ring. This is back flip phone days. So I'd let it ring and I'd put it on speaker and he would answer the phone, Hilton and Turno technical support. How can I help you? Or, Bank of America, regional support, vendor messaging. How can I help you? And I would read through what I was doing and he'd say, oh yeah. Ticket number 478573. And he would read through it, just all complete fake. And then like, if someone would be like, oh, okay. And they'd let us in, then they'd fail. Once in a while, I'd get someone that would stick to their training and they'd say, listen, I'm sorry. I know I'm being a pain in the ass, but I need to get an email from an email address that I know of that says that you're authorized to be here with your name and picture of your ID, or else I'm not allowed to let you in, And so at that point, I'd be like, all right, good job. Like I wouldn't go falsify the rest of that because if, at that point, they're doing their job.
Yeah.
As long as they asked. Yeah.
Have you always been in the private sector for cybersecurity?
No, I've done some work for the Department of Defense and Homeland Security as a civilian contractor, right? I was never enlisted or, working for any of them, on government payroll directly. But yeah, so I've done a bunch of work for them. That was like for the anti-digital terrorism kind of work that we were doing, where the Department of Defense and Homeland Security kind of overlays policy for things that keep us safe online from what their involvement is when there is a big attack and things like that. So I worked in the kind of enterprise outreach side of DoD and Homeland Security, which was cool. That was some fun stuff.
That's really cool. Is that contact initially through email? Is it through phone, or how does that initially happen?
What, like how they get a hold of you?
Yeah, like man in a black suit comes up and has a little flashy thing.
So like, it's actually, well, oddly enough, I mean, pretty close kind of. I was actually in the public sector and I was building servers that were being used as missile guidance systems on submarines. So I was building these crazy things, and my only project contacts with the Secret Service, because they're the brokers between the military and people that are building weapon systems, like people like Northrop Grumman and those guys. They all deal with the Secret Service a lot of times as a liaison to these, types of engagements. And so we dealt with the Secret Service a lot, and we dealt with the FBI, and everyone you dealt with they had color coded names. So for each engagement you were on, you'd get on the phone with a Mr. Pink, a Mr. Black, and a Mr. Red, and they'd all just have colors, and that's who your point of contacts were just names and colors.
Okay.
And you got all your instructions from them. And then one of them reached out one day. It was, Mr. whatever color it was. And he says, hey, we have a project that could use your skill sets. Would you be interested in working on a project for Department of Defense that lasts 6 months? And you might need to go to Nigeria. And it was working for Shell Oil. And so we were protecting oil rigs from foreign attacks. And so I did that for quite a while.
Wow. That's really cool. Super cool. Now, are you the reason that they have to sit through cybersecurity and OPSEC training each year?
OPSEC training? No, I promise I'm not that guy. I am the guy that has to deliver those trainings sometimes or help create content for those on-demand training videos that you have to watch and click next on and then answer a quiz. So I have made a bunch of that content. People have contracted me to do, but no, this is one of those things, man, where oddly enough, if you fail a penetration test and the entry point was a person, be it digital or physical, then that does oftentimes incur companies creating policies that dictate these sorts of trainings.
Right.
And now, oddly enough, also, you guys should know, it's interesting. If you're a big enterprise, you actually have to pay significantly more for liability, error and omissions, and cybersecurity insurance these days if you can't show that your employees have completed this training.
Interesting.
So
that makes
what's
sense.
happened is that education space has basically lobbied to create corporate policy, and then of course insurance companies they lobby to them saying, hey, why are you going to cover these people if they haven't completed our training? Those are going to be more dangerous customers. And so insurance companies picked it up, and now you pay double unless you make your employees do these trainings and pay for them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, no entrapment here, but JT Steve wants to know, have you ever messed with scammers? There's like some super popular YouTube channels that backdoor and get into them, and they activate their camera, tell them what they're wearing, and delete all their files. Obviously, I don't think you're emptying anybody's bank account, but and I know you may not be able to share some stuff. Do you have anything you can share about scammers?
No, yeah. So we've done plenty of, we actually for a long time ran a service at one of the companies I was with, and then I ran it externally from them for a while, where it was a counterattack service. So when people get scammed, and those scammers aren't just looking for easy hit money, but they're actually working for a larger, malicious group, those scams then get people, those people then find their way because they work somewhere. Then those people find ways into the company. So we would do counterattacks where we'd actually disable the attackers by counterattacking them once they were identified. So we used to be able to bring their networks down, knock them offline, erase data. We had a whole red team that was basically dedicated to doing just that, like adversarial counterstrikes.
That's awesome.
Which was neat stuff. Yeah. But me personally, I just like messing with scammers on the phone. Like if I'm bored and it's a Saturday and I'm like working on the car, and I see, a scam call come in or whatever, a spam call come in on my phone, I'll just answer it with my Bluetooth headset on, and I'll just kind of waste their time for a little bit, and I get them all mad. I've had them.
Oh, they get so mad. This, like Corey's talking about, scammer payback's probably the biggest one.
I love it. I love watching those
insults that they go hard on their anger against him. And it's, I love when he does like the grandma voice and does, it's so good.
Oh, there was someone a while back trying to get Jill's mom to go through it was a scam mortgage thing. I think it was some kind of loan. I forgot what it was, but basically I got a hold of their info and I was like, that doesn't sound right. So I looked them up, and the domain name on the email didn't match the website. That didn't match the image in the bottom of the email. Their phone numbers didn't line up with business names. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I got you.
Yeah.
And so finally I got so far up the ladder with those guys just talking about what didn't seem legit that eventually they called me back, and their excuse for leaving her alone was, okay, so listen, there's a lot of work that goes into these types of programs like up front, and we don't want to waste that kind of effort unless someone's really committed to this program. So actually, we're not going to qualify her for this program anymore.
Oh, dang.
And I was like, oh, really? And then he was like, come on. And I was like trying to fight with him to get it back. And then eventually that guy got so mad at me that he ended up calling me back and like harassing me for like a week because he was so pissed.
Oh yeah, they get mad.
Oh yeah, he even told me that if I didn't go through with the program myself, that he was going to try to put bad reviews online for Dr. Nick's and Bigfoot slabs and all these things. And I was like, no, take your best shot, dude. Go
Yeah.
for it. And like,
Yeah. Good luck.
can of
Too
worms you
funny.
don't want to open.
So here's a good question. If you guys have any questions, this is literally what today was about. It's kind of spillover questions and things you guys find interesting. And it seems like you guys are all hanging out. We got great numbers right now. So thank you so much. But Spectre wants to know, how long have you been growing that beard? And did you start using wash and oil early on? Or kind of what was your path? All right. We probably have some new people here.
Yeah. So I started, the last time I clean shaved was the day my son was born in 2012. I almost missed him being born because I went into the bathroom to shave. So I was like, well, that was a bad idea. I guess I won't do that anymore. And so called it quits with the shaving. And I always kind of wanted to grow a beard and see what it was like. And so I did. I grew one, and from like 2012 to 2015, it was really short, like just off the chin, And when I started going a little longer than that, I don't know, I guess 2014, 15ish, that's when I started looking at product. And that's actually when and why we founded Dr. Nick's. Is that for anyone that doesn't know, when I started growing my beard and then started getting it longer, started using product, I had started having nasty reactions to the products I was using. And the problem was, is I really liked the way they smelled. And I came to find that the only things that worked for me were unscented oils. So I wasn't sure if it was the fragrance oils or what, but it turned out I still wanted something that smelled good. And all the essential oil based stuff on the market at the time was like single essential oil beard oils. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It would be like the pine, or it'd be like cedar, or just, you know what I mean? It'd be one thing. And so I wanted to use something that smelled good and had some layers and some complexity to it. And there wasn't really anything out there. So I made my own based on essential oils. From there, developed a carrier blend that I really, really liked. Did all of this, by the way, not even knowing that there was a beard community on YouTube. That probably could have saved me a lot of time and effort. But then again, if I would have solved the problem, who knows if Dr. Nick's would have ever been a thing, right? So everything happens for a reason.
Oh, for sure.
Then I stopped trimming it in like 2018. I started letting it get long. So it went from about here-ish, maybe here-ish, in 2018. And all this is 2018 to now.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And then, yeah, I mean, now it's butter and body wash and face wash. And it's so cool how one thing like growing your beard, learning to take care of it, can translate to so many other areas in a positive way.
It really is. And it's really cool. It just goes to show everything really does. I mean, happen for a reason. It's like, it's one of those just strange things, or the little forks in the road along the way are all the things that lead you to where you go. And you got to listen to them and, keep pushing on things that are tough sometimes, but it's tough to know. Like, am I pushing on something that's not supposed to work because it's not supposed to work? Or am I pushing on something that's supposed to work, but it's going to take a lot of work to do it? It's hard to tell that difference sometimes.
Yeah. And then this is interesting. So BK, same thing with you. He sneezes from fragrance oils. Like, okay, that's interesting.
Well,
And
if you
then
sneeze to it, that means your skin's sensitive to it, right? Because
for sure.
your sinuses and inside of your nose is just skin. And if it
Yep.
gets irritated and sneezes, then chances are you have the same issue that I do.
For sure. And then Ben, so real quick, you guys, shout out to Ben here. So he actually has two channels. This is his kart channel. He does kart racing. And then Ben has another channel called Ben Jammin. If you guys want to look that up, Ben Jammin Reviews. And Ben did a review on Dr. Nick's. Not a review. Let me take that back. He did a spotlight, a highlight of Dr.
Nick's. Said not a review 100%. A lot of times.
Yep. And I'll kick that to your thoughts in a second here. But he alludes in the video that his wife actually likes the bigger mountain man beard, and she's calling his new beard his baby beard, which is usually like the opposite of what happens with a lot of wives.
First of all, Ben, it sounds like you have a keeper. All right.
Yeah.
Right. First and foremost, I think you found a unicorn, right? Which I think, we're all very, very fortunate, those of us who have found those people. Joe likes my beard. The longer, the better. And Ben, that video was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. Like, first of all, can't say thank you enough. I have an email drafted up that I didn't have your email address. So I was gonna pop it into Instagram, but I started writing it last night just because your video cracked me up, man. It was fantastic. And
Yep.
I love the points you made in it too. Like it was honest, and I love that some things were for you, some things weren't, and I love the fact that 21 and Key Lime Pie are so up your alley, and you love them as much as you do. And I'm so grateful that you decided. I know that's not the kind of content you normally make, right? But I'm so glad that you like this stuff enough to actually make you want to do a video wearing our shirt, no less, by the way,
Yeah.
man. So it was awesome to watch, awesome to hear. You're awesome on camera. Anything that you say about you still getting used to being on camera, dude, those days are behind you, my friend. You are you're a pro. You're good to go. You seem comfortable and happy, and you're great to listen to. So thanks.
Agreed fully.
Again.
Yep. And guys, I did link it in the chat. So if you guys want to check that video out, just open it on a new tab, pause, and then come back and watch after this stream. So Ben, shout out to you, man. That was really cool, and appreciate all the love. Hey, Donald, welcome, my friend.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah. And yeah, my wife doesn't care what I grow as long as it's not clean shaven or a mustache. Okay. Understood.
So I guess it's, everything's all good so long as it's a beard.
Right. That's another winner right there.
That's it. Or she didn't specify another arm or like a third foot. Those things sound like they'd be okay too.
Yeah. I think you're okay there. All right. So to go back a little bit here, kind of starting from the beginning and checking these things out, we have some really cool topics that have been hit on. And if you guys have any questions or any points that you want to talk about, I'm just going to kind of read some of them and then kind of kick some things here. We have the Dr. Nick's difference, solving beard itch. We talked about scents like 18 and 21, the facility tour. That is still to this day one of the coolest ones with that facility tour. Meet Jill helping with the merch. Butter talking about helping with the grit and the butter. Building a brand. The winter scents, interviewing a barber. Talking about the merch shop owners that we have had that came in and was able to make all the merch. Personal interesting facts, the growth stem oil, having an actual community member on. So many really, really, really cool topics. And again, if there's anything that stood out to you guys, or you have a question or a comment and you're like, it's been killing me, I've been holding this in, I need to talk to Nick about coffee, this is your time to be able to do that. So just if you guys have anything, this would be the time to really add that on.
Dude, that's awesome. Dear goodness, what a crazy list that we've developed over the past year, man. Like we really have just covered so much different stuff.
I know it really is. In a future one, Brandon, I want to do a stream that's just dedicated to brainstorming scent ideas. And one that people keep bringing up is a sarsaparilla, a root beer type scent. And I think for most people, especially with where this company leans, would be more on like the natural side of those things. So that root, the actual root, the sarsaparilla.
It'll be root beer inspired.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that would be an awesome, awesome scent. And it's one that I enjoy. There's a company that's no longer around, and they had a sarsaparilla scent, and it was fantastic. It was refreshing. It was natural. I really, really enjoyed it.
Jill's working on it. It's one of the ones that's being worked on.
So cool. And I love this from my guy, Darian. He says, first one of these I saw was the year anniversary last week, and I've been watching them from the beginning since. I'm hooked now. Y'all's dynamic on here. Love y'all's dynamic on here.
That is awesome. Thanks, Darian, man. That's awesome to hear, dude. Sweet beard, by the way, dude. That thing's looking good.
Right. And that's a real thing, guys. If you're like, hey, I enjoy this and you miss some, you can start back from the beginning and get 50 plus hours of content to watch, to listen to. And thanks for talking about the dynamic. That was one thing that Nick and I mean, it wasn't even like a plan or a goal or anything. It was like the first time we hopped on a video call together. It just was like click, like just made sense like immediately. And we actually talked after the stream on Friday. So most of you watch my channel and understand I have companies and company owners on and I interview them. My Friday one was by far my most unique interview stream, my most unique stream where I had owners on. Normally it's because the other side of the camera over here doesn't quite feel comfortable, doesn't quite like want to really kind of go all in on it. And that's understood, right? It's a different setting and they do really well when I'm like feeding them every question and I'm drawing everything out of them. With Nick and Jill, it was like we started, it was just kind of like in the best way, a runaway horse. And it was because we are so comfortable. We have those dynamics. We did hang out in person for 24 hours. Like all of these things just added up. And I think what you're picking up on there is just that genuine dynamic of friends, of respect, of professional growth together, and so much.
Yeah, I mean, we talk more off of this camera on this platform than we do on it, right? And
Yeah,
I think that's a big thing. I think probably most of the people that you're on camera with, you probably talk to on camera more than you talk to them off camera.
for sure.
That's where you interact, and that's when you guys interact, is when you're doing those things. And it's
Yep.
us, it's the exact opposite. We're usually, I feel like we're just continuing a discussion that we've already been having whenever we're on here. So it doesn't even feel like we're on a live stream doing it. It just feels like we're doing what we usually do, except with some more friends in the room.
I know. I always say, like, you guys should just hear our before it launched. Like we were talking about the music festival they're going to. We just talk about this stuff. It's just
really
us.
Honestly, that's what it is. I actually, when you said that afterwards, I had a moment of being like, oh man, did we mess up? Like I was wondering,
no.
I was like, we didn't talk too much, did we? I was like, shoot, I was feeling pretty good.
No,
But
it was I thought it was just exactly what Darren's saying there, just this like super cool, unique dynamic that you just don't see anywhere else.
I'd agree, man. It feels pretty damn natural, that's for sure. I see
Heck
a
yeah.
beards and vinyl question I wanted to hit real
Yep.
quick
I
too.
got yep.
You,
So this
I imagine
question
you were
is,
getting it next.
yeah. How do you balance engaging with the beard community versus the general public? I've had several owners comment on how the community is very small percentage of their customer base.
So interestingly enough, we we didn't do any marketing, and we didn't do much. We did a lot of brick and mortar stuff, and we had a lot of people from different communities that were kind of all, in one way or related, to what we do. But I'd say that our first real growth year has been this past year, from 2022 to 2023. And a lot of that growth was because of kind of becoming a part of this community here and making friends with you guys, and just kind of making ourselves known and talking about what we do. So, oddly enough, is when someone interacts with us and I recognize the name from the community, that's great. However, this is an interesting one for me to answer. When I get someone's email, or we get a message on Instagram and I don't recognize their name, or it's if someone on here is with a screen name and I don't know your real name and I get an email, my assumption is that 90% probability it is a member from this community here that's emailing me. So I actually pretty much treat every email that I answer. Joel does the same with every email she answers, and every Instagram message, as if we're going to have that person here on our live stream with us the next week. And unless we give them a good answer and we don't get back to them, they're going to bring it up here and they're going to ask why we didn't get back to them.
Love that.
Let us know. So I just pretend like everyone is a member of this community, because my goal, honestly, also tail note on this,
Yep.
is if they're not a member of this community and they find us through Google and they don't know this community exists, our goal is to bring them into this community, right? I had a beard for a long time not knowing this community was here, and I want to make sure that the benefits that I've gained from that I give on to other people as well. So we're always trying to add to this community by encouraging people to come over and watch the live streams and check out Dan's stuff and all that. So
yeah. And to piggyback on that, Mark, I've heard all these same things, and there's definitely a couple of ways to look at it. The community, let's call it the YouTube beard community, people that engage on beard content, whether it's videos, whether it's live streams or Instagram, we can expand it upon it a little bit. That's definitely, there is a community, right? We're limited to that amount. Now, there are obviously more guys that have beards that care for them that interact on YouTube.
mm-hmm.
However, almost always when I hear the rhetoric of like several owners have commented on how the community is a very small percentage of their customer base, my interactions with that kind of talk is almost always driven by insecurities. It's almost always driven by owners. And I don't know who you're talking about, Mark, so I'm not calling anybody out. It's almost driven by owners that feel like they're not getting their slice of the pie of the community. And so they downplay the community. So they downplay the live streams, the videos, the interactions, and they say it's so small and it's such a small number compared to everything else, when that's just not actually true. The community is very large. How can I prove that? Beard Brand has over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, and they built that from the online community, right? That's a very, very large base. Now, let's say you have 1 million subscribers. Let's say every one of those subscribers just does one order, and an order is for $50. You do the math there. That's a very, very large community base that's on YouTube. And so I have heard that, but I've never heard it in a way that's actually proposed in a growth way. You actually just gave me the best answer I've ever heard on that, that everyone that interacts with you is a community member. And I'll take it a step further, because a goal of Nick and Jill with this company is to have a lifestyle brand, not a beard product brand, not someone that's selling you products, but somebody that's creating a lifestyle, a vibe, a feel, including the merch, including the live streams, including the Instagram, including all these aspects. There's so much more to it. And anybody that purchases, Nick and Jill want them involved on all aspects. They don't want just a transaction number and ship these things out. And so I think that was the best possible answer I've ever heard. And again, I'm not saying that everybody that purchases beard products watches YouTube or is on Instagram. That's not true. However, everyone that does is an opportunity, and in balancing it, I think you had the best answer ever. There should be no difference. If it's someone that you see in the chat, you're like, oh man, Tony Bloodworth, love that guy. Great hair, great beard. The name stands out. Oh, I'm going to talk to him in a special way because he comes to the streams. You should talk to everybody like that. And so, dude, I love that. You killed that answer right there.
Well, thanks, man. And I guess to just add one little piece onto that, something you said made me think of it, I guess. What's funny is the way I treat you guys, the way I talk to this community here, literally doesn't have any filter. Like, I don't get to sit here and read questions ahead of time or come up with responses ahead of time. It's literally off the top of my head. So I think actually it's kind of funny in the sense that if there was a special way I treated people here in this community, to go on my previous answer, I would treat everyone like that because I want them to be a part of this community. But I'm not saying a bad thing here. I actually don't have a special way of treating you guys, though, because this is kind of just how, again, it's how we operate, right? So what you see here is very much just genuinely us. So it'd be hard for me to treat someone different, because then I'd have to be thinking of how to be different,
Oh yeah. And there's even times where I'm like, man, what? You're being a little bit too nice to this person. You're going a little bit too out of your way. So Nick and Jill always err on the side of being real kind. And for me, I'll let thoughts creep in. I'm like, man, that person's like going over the top a little bit. And they're like, nah, we're still taking care of us. And it's like, all right, you guys are awesome. You're awesome.
You got to do it. You set the bar, you got to stick to it.
For sure. And Donald, you have a great question. I'll hit that one just a second here. And one thing I want to address here is a little interaction. And I've talked to this person many, many times, and then kind of give my feedback and then kick it to you here, because Nicholas and Jill are talking. He had a typo, but he said, Dr. Nick, can you speak on your beard butter? It's my #1 butter. He came back and had the typo here. And then Jill was like, hey, you got me a little bit worried, because he said it's my #1 beard butter and it's butter with grit. Now, and then Jill said, did you receive a butter with grit? Nicholas said, yes, I did. Here's my thing on all of this when it comes to butter, is I think the word grit has a vast spectrum of how people use it.
It does.
It is literally impossible for me to say, I think this is grit, because you can't feel it. You can maybe see it, but you can't feel it. So for me, Dr. Nick's is a full-bodied beard butter. Now, what do I mean by that? It is not something that immediately melts down by just holding it in your palm and just leaving it there. It has several different butters, right? The ones that you find that are really unbelievably thin and light, those are almost always just a singular butter, shea butter. And then once you start adding in some of the things that Dr. Nick's has, it just changes the properties of it. So I would be willing to bet with Nicholas, and this is not anything against Nicholas. He's saying it's his #1 butter. He said butter with grit. He's not saying that in a negative light. So I want to make sure I'm super clear on this. I would bet a lot that Nicholas has the butter, and it's just a full body butter. It has some texture to it. It has some oomph to it, which is what gives it that extra special nourishment. How many people have we heard say, Dr. Nick's has the greatest beard butter I've ever had. It's helped my skin. It's helped my beard. It's amazing. It's for my dog, all these things. Well, that's because it's different to the ingredients, to the texture. And so I think the real big hiccup that everybody gets stuck on, and Jill cares so much about her product, so I think hearing the word grit is like nails on a chalkboard for her. And I would offer the perspective that it's just a spectrum of use, and that not everybody's using it in the way where you and I and Jill hear grit and we're like, oh no, that's bad. And we think about like companies where you get it and it's like beaded up clumps that get in between your fingers and you can't press them and melt them down. We had other people that said like, oh, I feel like it can be fixed by melting it down during shipment. And there's a whole lot of factors. But I do want to, the main thing is I want to differentiate between texture and grit, especially in terms of negativity.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. I think there is a gray area there. And I mean, to be fair, Nicholas, you could have one of those 1 in 100 butters that got messed up and had just the right temperature changes happen in shipping where you did get some actual grit that's tough to break down. And that does happen because we don't use wax in our butter. So, we don't use anything that prevents any of the alpha acids from crystallizing like some people do.
Right.
And there's upsides to that, and they're huge, right? The feel and beard, the weight, the longevity, the greasiness, how it soaks in, how it absorbs, how you can use it on your skin and everywhere. All of those things are because there's no wax in there, and because of the ingredients list, having aloe and sal and all the other butters that we have in there with mango and everything else, along with the shea. So there is a chance, right? But then again, sure. I think what Dan's talking about too is there's some people that aren't used to the full bodied butter and they get it and they're like, ooh, this isn't ointmenty, or ooh, this isn't like a stick of Kerrygold,
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, I want to make sure we're talking about the same thing on the same page.
But Nicholas, thank you so much for that, dude. I'm so glad to hear that, you love it.
And he's been making reels on Instagram that have been shared on the Dr. Nick's Instagram page and stuff. Oh, yeah. So always love and appreciate that. And G Squared, you're right. He's like, how is this considered full body? He's like, I don't disagree, but it absorbs so beautifully. And he has butters that are considered light that won't absorb. And that's what I'm talking about is I don't want people to dig their finger in and be like, oh, this different, this bad. And it's like, no, it is. You're right. It is different. There is something unique about this butter. It's the sal butter. There's so much to it. And so I just wanted to make sure we were kind of talking on the same page there. So love it. Absolutely love it. And again, Nicholas said it's his #1 butter. So don't take anything that he's saying in a negative way, guys. It's nothing like combative there. Nicholas loves it and is like super praising it, which is great.
Yeah, no. And I mean, that's huge.
Yep. And guys, we are running out of time again here, so we see more questions, but we got a couple quick ones here for you, Nick. With the woodworking business, any sense like teak, bamboo, cedar that you really want to combine in a set?
Yeah, I really do. And it's really tough to get those scents in an essential oil. And it's really, we've even tried steeping oils in woods, like taking our carrier blend and steeping them with spirals and chips and lots of other stuff to try to get enough surface area. And then what we found is the particulate that stays in there, the filtering process, it introduces a lot of oxygen. That causes oxidation, which lowers shelf life, and particulate isn't good for consistency. So we've had some struggle there. I imagine we're going to crack that nut. And, if you look at like our 21, it has a good woody, smoky scent to it. So there are things out there that do have those sort of tannins, the wood tannin scents to it. But like, things like leather, tobacco, wood, all of those things, believe it or not, just do not exist in the essential oil world.
Yeah, right. Yeah, 100%. And love this, guys. Thanks for all the positive comments to Dr. Nick's there. He said he's had several big name butters, and before he ordered Dr. Nick's, it was a complete game changer. #1 for sure. #1 for sure.
That is amazing to hear. We just had a review come in that was very similar to that too over the weekend that I really, really liked.
Super cool. And Brendan says, hey, what's the growth stem oil? What's the scent like? Well, Brendan, it's peppermint and rosemary. Very fresh, very minty, very amazing, in my opinion.
Yep. Slather it on your kid, man. Get him a real beard looking like that. You got the avatar there. It's going to be like that. That's going to be our ad for the growth stem right there.
And it will clear up their sinuses. So it's a double win.
Yeah. Boom.
Nick, being 4 days older than me. Oh, what? So 4 days, Friday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Is your birthday today?
It seems like it.
Nick,
1,
being
2,
4
3,
days
4,
older than
or
me.
it was. Oh no, because I'm the 8th. So if he's the 4th, that'd be yesterday.
Oh, next week.
Well, so happy belated birthday, Jay Spears.
So it'll be next week, right? If he's younger than you.
Oh, right. 4 days young.
Yeah.
So he'll be the 12th. That's the same
next
birthday
week
as my son then. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right. Mine's next week. Okay.
So happy future birthday.
But
we'll say happy birthday next week on the stream.
Well, yeah, exactly. Let's remember.
You don't get one yet. You get one next week.
Bill Murray movie, and why is it Ghostbusters?
What is your favorite Bill Murray movie? Why is it Ghostbusters? You know what? So I would almost say that Groundhog Day. Groundhog Day. I think Groundhog Day might be my favorite.
Oh, he has the same birthday as Jack.
Yep, that's Jack's birthday.
Perfect.
But the reason why it should be Ghostbusters is Dan Aykroyd is the one that got Bill Murray to be in that movie.
Yeah.
And I watched that documentary where they were talking about how like he said okay to doing it, but didn't show up for any of the dress rehearsals or anything. He just like showed up for filming.
That's all he does.
And I guess Dan Aykroyd was like, nope, trust me, he's coming. And then they're like, have you got a hold of his agent? And he's like, he doesn't have one. He's coming.
So true. All right. Final question before we say goodbye here. Mark wants to know, hey, some companies, and again, guys, this Mark isn't saying anything negative here. It's all strategic, right? Companies have different approaches with scents. Some do 10 fall scents. Some do 4 mainline scents and have only had 1 random scent other than that, and they only stick to those. Others do monthly new ones. What was your approach with Dr. Nick's when it comes to new scents, new products? Did you have any strategy? Has it evolved? What are your thoughts there?
It's evolved, but organically. And we didn't have a strategy there. And I'll give you a quick explanation why, because I know we're over a little bit. But basically, the deal is that if you're working with a big supplier or you're working with someone who blends fragrance oils for you, in a sense, you have a constant backlog of things that you can release, right?
Right.
You is like, hey, add this one on and this one on. We're going to call it this and ship it out. And in it comes, right?
And nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, those are a lot of the brands that like I really liked the sense of. And trust me, if we could do that the way that they do that, I'd love to do that. Having a huge product line like that, it'd be great fun.
Yep.
But with us, since we develop our own fragrance profiles using individual essential oils, it takes a while to develop those scents. So when we want to develop something, sometimes the product development roadmap goes between 30 and 365 days, right?
Or more.
It can take a month, it could take a year, it could take 2. Mm-hmm. So we release things as scents become done and ready. And we're always working on new ones. Some take longer than others. So we don't really have a backlog to work off of, and we don't have a formulator that we work with for our scents, and we don't have any white labeled products. So we can't just do new label art, slap a name on it, and put out a new product. And then what typically happens there is the one that's oldest or the last one you did that with, if it didn't sell so great, you put that on sale, you move on to the next one, you bring in some new ones, you attract people with the new stuff, and you sell them with the things that are on sale while they're on your site. And it's just not a model that works for us because we don't have much variation.
And that's beautiful. Another great answer there and great question, Mark. I love that.
That is because it is a cornerstone to a lot of business models is figuring the answer to that question out before you even start.
For sure.
We did it backwards.
Yeah. And that's so awesome. And I will say, so much of that, like Nick always talks about, is cultivated by you guys. Mm-hmm. You guys ask for scents, Jill starts on them. You guys are pushing it, Jill keeps going on it. And then once it's right, then it comes out. There really isn't anything. Like it was June was a big month of releases. You had like 4 different releases. And then in July, nothing was released, or July was big. And then August, nothing was released new. And so there's not like a strategy of, oh, we got to boost sales by launching this, right? Because the real big trap that companies fall in, like the one you mentioned of doing new scents, like 10 new scents every month, they start to depend on that kind of revenue. They start to depend on it, and they kind of handcuff themselves to it. Where if you do stuff in kind of a more natural, organic way, you're not relying on those numbers and you're not like putting yourself into a corner. You can do new stuff, but you don't have to. And so from an outsider that has a perspective of a lot of companies, it's a really nice way to go. Nice way to go. Very
different. And last one here, Clay, if you're still listening, shoot us a note to customer service at drnix.com. And we're more than happy to set up a time and day with you.
Yep. Right there, you guys, customer service at drnix.com. Easily the best way to get directly in touch with Nick and Jill. They both share that email and both go back and forth is by sending them an email, you guys. That's going to get them the quickest and the most direct customer service at drnix.com. Awesome. All right, guys, next week, I think the plan is going to be to talk a little bit more specifically about the company, about the industry, and possibly Answer. I apologize. Answer. Yes. And we'll talk about some behind the scenes stuff that most consumers never get to hear about, never get to see, and it will all be in a positive light. This isn't anything that's negative, but it'll be about some decisions that are made on ingredients and sourcing and all sorts of really cool stuff. So if you guys the technical side of the beard world and beard products, and you want to learn something where you're like, you get that product and you're like, oh, I know something new about this. Next week's going to be a really good show for that purpose. So
Yeah,
1 p.m.
that'll be really
Eastern.
cool.
Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Oh, no, just saying that'd be really, really cool. That's going to be a great one.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So 1 p.m. Eastern next Tuesday. Nick, go ahead and take them off on this overtime for them.
Well, thanks for staying late with us, guys. And just so you know, Boss Hog on here, that is the review I was talking about. So Eric M is the one who left that review. Thank you so much for that. I'm definitely going to be using that in a few places and quoting you, if that's okay. I'm going to shoot you an email first to make sure it's all right, but I absolutely would love to. So thank you so much for that. And guys, yeah, thanks for joining us Friday. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you. Hopefully I'll be in one piece after Blue Ridge next weekend. And you know, I'll be one step closer to being an old man, you know, so bring on the middle-aged 40-year-old over the hill jokes. And hopefully I don't have any black eyes or broken limbs and intact for a good stream next Tuesday at 1:00.
Either way, we're going to have some stories. I can tell you that.
In either way, we'll be here. So,
all right, guys, have a great